Well, good afternoon, family. It's Tuesday in Holy Week, and I just wanted to greet you and say a few words. I was thinking earlier that I feel a little, I don't want to say condemned, but sometimes I feel a little guilty that I'm getting on talking to you and I haven't prepared a great message and I haven't studied for hours. But then I thought, you know what? When the family comes over, I don't do it either. I don't do that for family, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't, but I hope you're not offended that I just treat you as family. Yeah, it's a pity that you're not actually here, but we know these are challenging times, right? So we're in Holy Week, and so I'm sitting up here in the office, and I thought, I need to just grab a Bible. And I should turn the camera around in a minute and let you see on the bookcase. I don't know how many Bibles I've got. I must have at least 20 or 30 different Bibles. But those aren't the Bibles I grabbed for today. I just grabbed for this old Bible. I don't know if you can see it. It's my old Bible. And if I go to the front of it, it's got various addresses where we used to live. First address in here is in Bayswater, London. And I wrote the address in there. And I remembered as I looked at that all of those days, all of those times. And so this Bible is pretty special to me. Then I turned over the page and look what it said. I'm sure you can't read it there on the screen, but it says Douglas from Daddy, Easter 1960, a remembrance of Mummy. My mum had just passed away the prior year, and but my dad gave me this Bible, and I have to tell you, even though it's fallen apart, and even though I have got far nicer and bigger Bibles, this Bible is really precious to me, and I'm sure you have Bibles like that. Yeah, it just was a special reminder to me as I picked up this Bible to look back through the years, think of His faithfulness. Um, yeah, those were tough times in our family, but God is faithful. And here we are today in the middle of a worldwide crisis. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they were just describing to me some of what's going on around the world. We're so preoccupied with America, we don't realize the impact that this crisis is having in other places. And maybe I'll talk to you a little bit about that today. Not today, but another day. But today, I just wanted to talk to you about the second day in Holy Week. If you remember, the first day was what we talked about yesterday, how the day after Palm Sunday, they came and Jesus went into the temple. And what did he find? He was disappointed. Now, I know he knew what he was going to find. He knew all along. But he expressed his outrage to see what people had done to his father's house, a place that's supposed to be a place of reverence, a place of prayer, and it was, as he put it, a den of thieves. So if we skip ahead to the next day, we find it, well, at the end of that day, he went home, not home, but he went back to Bethany to spend the night. And then the following day, he came back into Jerusalem. And I'm going to read out of this Bible, Matthew chapter 21, verse 17, and I'll read to you. And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it and found nothing thereon, but leaves only. And he said unto it, Let no fruit grow on thee henceforth forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. It was about 9 months ago that I taught on that verse in the class. But I want to remind you what that was about. Again, Jesus knew what he was going to find, right? So this was an illustration for those around him of a principle. And what was the principle? Here was the principle that Jesus was hungry. And so what did he do? He looked around for a fruit tree and he found a fruit tree. He found a tree that had leaves on it. And at that time of year, if there are leaves, there should have been fruit. But what did he find? He found that this fruit tree had the appearance of being a fruit tree. It had all the outward signs, but when he actually looked, there was no fruit. And so what did he say? He condemned that fruit tree. And so what's the point? I think he was drawing a parallel. He was talking about the religious people of his day. They had all the outward signs. They had everything that would lead you to believe that truth was to be found there, that genuineness was to be found there. But when you actually lifted up the edge of the cover and you looked underneath, what did you find? You didn't find a house of prayer, but you found a house of tension, a house of stress, a house of commerce. And Jesus once again comes back to us and says, you need to be what you represent you are. If you're going to represent you're a fruit tree, there better be fruit there. I'll tell you what, I talked about it recently, but we have to be careful that we are not hypocrites, right? Hypocrites. And I've talked to you about that previously. A hypocrite was what? He was a Greek actor. One moment, he was holding up a mask of a funny guy and a guy with a smile on. The next minute, he'd take that mask down, put up a different mask, and he was changing characters all the time by which mask he held up. But the reality was he was representing something. I don't know about you. If we're claiming to be Christians, if we're claiming to be followers of him, I pray that when those in need come along and hope to find help and hope to find sustenance and hope to find a genuine heart that will listen and will care for them, they find that. It's not just that we got a bunch of leaves and no fruit. So we need to be careful, right? I read a story, I think it was last night, illustrating what it's like to be a hypocrite. A little boy was going to the dentist, and it was his first dental inspection, and they have you fill in all these forms where you're allergic to this and you're allergic to that. Of course, I've told you before how I like to fill those in because it has all this long list of things that you're allergic to, and down the bottom it always has other, and I always write other people's children. I think I'm allergic to other people's children. Of course, my grandkids are fine. They're not fine. They border on angelic some of the time. How about your grandkids? Well, that's another story. But anyway, this little guy, when he was asked to fill in the form, I don't know whether his mother asked him, but she said, well, what are the favorite things you like to do? And so he responded, number one, playing soccer. Number two, playing hide and seek. And number three, flossing. Really? I don't think so. I think that little guy was being somewhat hypocritical. He was pretending that flossing was one of his great things in life. I tell you what, if we're not careful, we do the same thing. Not pretending about flossing, but we change who we are depending on the environment that we're in. I want to be consistent. How about you? I don't want one person to think, well, he's a great Sunday school teacher, but somebody else to say, yeah, but I know who he really is. I'm not suggesting anybody is going to say I'm a great Sunday school teacher, but you get my point, right? How about that we just be what we say we are, and that if we've got the leaves, let's make sure we have the fruit too. So that's a little thought on the second day of Holy Week. I'll go into more detail tomorrow, perhaps. I hope that you're looking forward to Easter Sunday. We're going to have a regular Maranatha Easter Sunday, as regular as anything can be. So plan to join us, tell your friends, and I hope and pray you're doing well, staying safe. We love you and praying for you. So now I once again pray that the Lord be with you, that He His face continues to smile upon you. How about that? We are living in the favor of God. Luke 2:26, that Jesus lived and he increased in favor with God and with man. And I'm expecting the same. So today I pray his blessing on you, that he be with you, that his peace be with you in the midst of the storm. And I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless you. Love you all. Bye-bye.